Good afternoon and welcome to today's New York City Council hearing on the Committee on Small Business. At any point during today's hearing, no one may approach the dais. If you'd like to testify, please see one of the Sergeant-at-Arms in the back to fill out a testimony slip. Please silence all electronic devices. Chair, you may begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Council Member Oswald Feliz, Chair of the Committee on Small Business. Thank you for joining us for today's hearing on containerization requirements on small business improvement districts. I'd like to thank representatives from the administration, members of the public, and my council colleagues who have joined us today. Business improvement districts, or BIDs, play an integral part in helping our local businesses flourish. BIDs deliver on services and improvements beyond those typically provided by the city. For example, BIDs often provide local businesses with added security. They engage in marketing and events. They contribute to capital improvements, and they work to facilitate dialogue between local businesses and city government. One of the most important services that BIDs often provide is sanitation, including street cleaning, maintenance, and beautification. These services, which supplement the sanitation services that DSNY offers, benefit everyone, including businesses, but also entire communities, which benefit from having sidewalks and roads free from unsanitary and dangerous conditions. As we know, the proper containerization of trash is an important issue for all of us in the city of New York. The administration's ongoing war on rats and the war on trash has helped make our streets safer and cleaner, goals that everyone in the city shares and believes in. However, it's important that our stakeholders and community partners be properly consulted and that each initiative has been properly thought out before taking effect. For that reason, we look forward to hearing from the Sanitation Department about their upcoming rule, which will require that BIDs containerize all their trash. We also look forward to hearing from SBS and the Sanitation Department about their engagement with the business improvement districts to support containerization and to mitigate any adverse effects on containerization initiatives. I would like to thank Luke Hamill and Rebecca Barilla from Central Staff for their work putting this hearing together, as well as my team, my Chief of Staff, Esperanza Diaz, my Deputy Chief, Guillermo Rodriguez, my Budget Director, Santiago Baena, and also some my additional staffers who have joined us today, including Nicole Aguila and Dana. And thank you for everyone else as well for working in the background to put this hearing together. I'll now turn it over to the committee council to administer the oath before we hear from the administration.
Prior to doing so, Chair, could you Before we begin testimony, I will administer the oath. To all members of the administration who will be offering testimony or will be available for questions, please raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee and respond honestly to council member questions?
I do.
Thank you. You may begin when ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Felice and members of the Committee on Small Business. I'm Joshua Goodman, Deputy Commissioner of Public Affairs and Customer Experience at the New York City Department of Sanitation, and I'm joined by Sanitation Assistant Chief Frank Laterra and by Horace Kahn, Chief of Staff at the New York City Department of Small Business Services. In October 2022, the Adams administration kicked off the trash revolution by changing set-out times for both residential and commercial waste from 4 p.m., one of the earliest set-out times in the country, to 8 p.m., effective April 2023, while also allowing earlier set-out if the material is in a container. This incentivization of containerization was paired with major changes to DSNY operations, picking up more of the trash far earlier, including ending a practice by which up to 1/5 of trash had been left out for a full day. Just over 1 year ago, container rules went into effect for all businesses of every type in New York City, requiring them to get their trash off the streets and into a secure bin. We wrote 70,000 warnings to businesses as this rule went into effect and have written tens of thousands of summonses since, gaining broad compliance and bringing bins to restaurants, delis, bodegas, drugstores, boutiques, and everything else on our commercial corridors. This is millions of pounds of trash off our streets. The first containerization requirement for residential buildings in more than 50 years went into effect November 12th, requiring all buildings with 1 to 9 residential units to use bins. This can be either their own or the official NYC bin, the cheapest high-quality bin available. This program was designed thoughtfully so that these bins would be by far the cheapest of their quality on the market at around $50, a reasonable responsibility for most New York City property owners. To date, New Yorkers have purchased over 800,000 of these bins at www.bins.nyc or at New York City Home Depot locations, and they have fundamentally altered the look and feel of our streets, replacing piles of black trash bags that attracted the rats, impeded pedestrians, and generally made New Yorkers feel that no one cared about their neighborhoods. These bins may look like simple pieces of plastic, but they have led to double-digit percentage decreases in rat sightings citywide. Starting in June 2026, this will be the only bin permitted for lower density residential trash to facilitate safer, cleaner, mechanized collection. That gets us to 70% of the trash already covered by containerization requirements, and we have a plan for the remaining 30%. We are currently collecting trash from approximately 1,100 stationary on-street containers called Empire Bins in Manhattan Community District 9 as part of the first full district containerization pilot. The pilot has taken those huge piles of trash bags generated by the largest buildings off the streets and instead is storing them in secure containers just like you would see in Europe, South America, or Asia, years faster than anyone thought possible. Many New Yorkers hate two things, the rats and change. And these programs have tested which they hate more. With every step of this process, the change in set-out times, the commercial containerization requirements, and the residential containerization requirements, we were met with similar reactions. Segments of the population told us that they broadly supported the concept of containerization, but that they themselves could not containerize their trash for various reasons. There were excuses from many people and squeaks from many rats. This administration, however, remained committed to getting every single bag of trash off our sidewalks. We knew that all New Yorkers deserve clean streets and sidewalks, not just some. And we know that so many cities around the world solved this problem decades ago, without exceptions or carve-outs. That brings us to the issue we are discussing today. Earlier this year, after extremely lengthy community discussion, the city adopted a rule clarifying that any business improvement district, merchant association, neighborhood association, or other entity that performs cleaning services may not place any amount of refuse or recycling next to or against any public litter basket. Despite what you may have heard, the idea is quite simple. Residents and businesses can't put bags right on the street. This rule simply holds bids and other similar entities to the same standard. We appreciate very deeply the essential work that business improvement districts and other entities perform, delivering services and improvements above and beyond those typically provided by the city, including street cleaning and maintenance, marketing and events, and beautification and advocacy. Bids help to brand their districts and market small businesses on their corridor. They also provide a collective voice for the neighborhood and help inform city policy based on their unique local knowledge. Over the course of one-on-one meetings with 66 of the city's 77 bids, as well as multiple meetings with the Bid Association and with supplemental service providers like ACE, we have helped these entities to identify multiple options to comply with this rule. Compliance could look like an on-street container for a mid-sized bid, an extra litter basket for a smaller one, or direct trucking to a sanitation garage for a large bid. These meetings have been extremely productive and effective. For example, prior to a walkthrough, the Fordham bid expressed significant concerns about ability to comply with this policy. But by working together, we identified 19 appropriate locations for containers, and they will be placing orders soon. Our team helped the Bayside bid to determine that they can comply by simply adding about a dozen extra high-quality corner litter baskets. And the Flatbush Avenue bid has been able to revise their cost estimates down considerably thanks to our collaboration. I want to be very clear. There are a number of low or no-cost options for many organizations to comply with this rule. And despite the August 1st effective date, we will not be summoning anyone through at least the end of this calendar year. The implementation of the rule has already been extended well over 12 months from the date initially proposed by DSNY. We are working with all bids in good faith, and many critics have come to see the importance of this program. New Yorkers deserve clean streets. Neither businesses nor residents nor any other entity should be allowed to leave bags of trash on the street. Other cities around the world have been doing this for decades. We are certainly not the first. We can have clean sidewalks, clear corners, and passable curb cuts. We really can if we just see this through to the end. Thank you, and we look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony. Before I begin with questions, I'd like to recognize Councilmember Ung, who has joined us, and also Councilmember Brooks Powers, who has joined us remotely. Thank you for your testimony, and thank you for all the work that you and your team does, literally 24/7, all the work you do to make sure that New Yorkers can enjoy a clean and a safe city. I want to start with some basic introductory questions on the issue. There's been a lot of moving pieces on the issue of containerization, and I think the many moving pieces has led to some confusion about the different rules related to containerization. So let me start with some very basic questions. And today I'll ask many questions on many different items, including when will enforcement begin, how will enforcement take place, the cost of containers, insurance, maintenance, other operational costs, which bins to purchase, what size to purchase, where to place them, how will placement be determined, and a lot more. So look forward to having a conversation about those many items. So let me start with some basic introductory questions. Some of us already know this information, but I'll still ask them just to set the context for future questions. So talk to us about the containerization rules. What exactly do they require? Who do they apply to, including residential versus commercial versus organizations, nonprofits, et cetera?
So there are a few rules that are already in place, and then I'll talk about those first and then go into the rule that is in the process of being implemented that I think we're primarily going to discuss today. But just to set the context, the overall goal is to end this practice that has existed for 50 years where New Yorkers were not just allowed but actually required to just put trash on the street, right? I mean, you know, all of us, we live here, right? We get used to it. But somebody comes in from out of town or you go somewhere else, you realize it doesn't have to be like that. You don't actually have to walk past big piles of trash bags every day. So what we've done is require that all businesses, every kind of business, stop putting their trash on the street. They could use a bin and put it out, or if they have an off-site collection, that's great too. There are a lot of options, but primarily it's an individual bin for especially a small business. That's 200,000 businesses, 20 million pounds of trash a day. Then on the residential side, we've required bins for all properties citywide that have between 1 and 9 residential units. So they're using bins today. Some of them are using the official NYC bin, which is the cheapest high-quality bin available, and New Yorkers have purchased more than 800,000 of those. Some are using bins they already had, and that's great. We're in a phase-in period where bins that you already owned are acceptable for that program. But again, you know, that's another 20% of the 44 million pounds of daily trash that's set out in this city. It's a huge difference. And we're now piloting in Manhattan Community District 9 what we believe will be the go-forward strategy for large residential buildings. That's the on-street container, the Empire bin for residential use. So those are the rules that have been put in place so far for residential and business trash. And then the rule that's in the implementation phase now that's covers bids and supplemental sanitation service providers is written with, based on our feedback from these organizations, tremendous flexibility in mind. It does not require containerization. Containerization is one way to comply with the requirement to stop putting bags of trash on the street. If a bid wants to bring their trash directly to a sanitation garage, that's great. If they want to just add extra litter baskets so that there's no need to bag them and set them next to the basket, that's great. If they do want to site an on-street container, we will work closely with them on applications for siting, and we will help move that forward. So containerization is, I suspect it will be among the more common solutions, but it is certainly not required under this rule. All that we're doing is trying to get those streets and sidewalks clear of the black bags of trash once and for all from everybody in the city.
On the non-residential side, who would be required to containerize? Bids, small businesses, nonprofits?
So small businesses of all size have been required to containerize since March of 2024. So we've had quite a while now of full commercial containerization. And we've seen a lot of success with that program. There were a lot of groups, you know, particularly, oh, I'm a restaurant, I don't have a lot of room, you know, not to single anybody out, right? But there were a lot of people who thought that there was no way to solve this. We worked with them closely, we worked with industry groups, we worked with businesses directly. We're seeing incredibly widespread compliance, businesses using bins for their trash. On the organizational sort of nonprofit side, nonprofits that receive DSNY collection have been covered as part of the low-density residential requirement since November of 2024. We're also seeing great compliance there. We did a lot of very direct outreach to those organizations, covers houses of worship as well. And the new rule that's coming into effect that we're discussing today is specifically for bids, merchant associations, supplemental sanitation service providers that provide cleaning services in a large area not connected to a specific individual business address or residential address.
Yeah, and when does the rule take effect? Is it still August 1st? And
It's
also
August 1st, 2025,
enforcement?
with a warning period through the end of this year. And DSNY has also explicitly stated in meetings with the Bid Association and under oath at multiple hearings that there will be no summons activity against any bid or supplemental service provider that is engaged in a good faith effort to comply.
What are some of the potential challenges that we see getting in the way of compliance for all the bids, but especially for the smaller bids who might not have the resources to purchase and containerize?
Well, I will say, Councilmember, that in all of the walkthroughs that we've been on, siting concerns and cost are the two most common things that we hear about. Ultimately, that's why there's so much flexibility here. If a bid were to say, our walkthrough determined that we probably need 3 containers, but I can really only afford 1 this fiscal year, can I get the 2 in the next fiscal year? Yes, that would be a good faith effort. So while those are the most common challenges, we are at the ready to help all organizations impacted solve those without enforcement.
And in the cases where there are penalties, who will be fined? The workers, the bids?
Under the
and also,
rule,
what are the expected penalties too?
under the rule, it's the organization that would bear the fine, and it's the same fine as improper set out, meaning leaving a bag of trash on the street, which I believe is 75, 100, no, 75, 300, 400 for additional offenses within a 12-month period. $75 first offense.
So earlier you mentioned that there won't be fines for businesses that make or business improvement districts that make a good faith effort to comply. That's great, but are there any programs currently in place to help them comply rather than just delaying the fines and providing warnings?
Well, our outreach effort, I would say, is the primary one. Chief Otero has led walkthroughs and conversations with 66 of the city's 77 bids. Those go on as long as they have to and will continue indefinitely to help everyone find a solution.
Okay. And also, can you elaborate on the rule related to the good faith effort? Some of you mentioned if they take steps to
Right.
comply, they won't be provided a fine. Are there factors that you consider when determining if they've done enough?
You know, it's much easier to define a bad faith effort, what wouldn't count, right? And I would say that we're not going to be summoning anyone unless they go out there and say, I'm never getting my trash bags off the street and you can't make me. That would be the kind of situation where summoning would be necessary. Virtually any other situation, hey, listen, I'm waiting for approval from, this organization or that, I'm figuring out the siting, I haven't heard back, they're on back order. All of that is good faith effort. This is one of those requirements that requires a very high level of observation in order for enforcement to take place. Any enforcement that occurs is going to be escalated up through the senior levels of the department first. Right? This is not the sort of thing where a local supervisor is going to be writing a summons based on seeing a bag on the street. There are going to be calls involved, making sure, do you know that they haven't got their container yet? That kind of thing. So we anticipate a very, very low level of actual summons enforcement as opposed to outreach, warnings, and conversations.
Okay, moving on from enforcement, let's briefly talk about placement of the containers. Also, thank you, Councilmember Brewer, for joining us today. Let's talk briefly about the placement of the containers. So what are the rules related to placement, including where to place them, sidewalks versus streets, and also is there an approval process for before placing containers in specific locations?
Yes, the containers are covered under the long-standing DOT street manual furniture siting guidelines. It's not a different set of guidelines for any on-street containers that a bid or supplemental service provider might choose to use than it would be for any other kind of street furniture. So I know the bids are very familiar with this from a lot of their work. It is online at nyc.gov/cleancurbs. But just to provide some examples, Containers cannot be installed near crosswalks, bus stops, curb cuts, 15 feet from fire hydrants. It's very straightforward, and I would say it's the primary topic during the walkthroughs, is going and saying, you know, this is a location that is likely to be approved. This is a location that's not likely to be approved. Here's one that is likely to be approved, and when you compare these two, this one meets your operational needs as an organization better. That's really what these are about. But all the guidelines are online, and they're the same for the placement as for the placement of virtually all other street furniture.
Okay, and I guess before they place, they would have to reach out to the SNY just to get the approval for the specific location, even if they clearly meet the requirements.
Right. We give our approval during the walkthroughs, and then there's a formal submission to DOT.
Okay. Earlier, you mentioned that the containerization rules, as we all know, applies to anyone who engages in sanitation services. This includes generally bids, but also company or organizations like ACE, also known as the Association for Community Employment Programs, who do great work on the issue of sanitation, and also they clean all over the city.
Yes.
Rather than having one specific location, for example, BID, who would engage in cleaning services in that specific corridor, ACE covers the entire city. You call them for any specific location, and they'll show up. How would the rule apply to organizations like that one? Would they be required to containerize an entire city? Obviously not, but how exactly would the rules apply? Because they do seem very broad.
We've had a lot of conversations with ACE about this to try to make sure that it's as easy as possible for them to comply. You know, as you mentioned, Sir Chair, they are often operating in an area because they've been asked to come. So that means that there are opportunities to work with the asker, the requester, on storage or containment of the trash bags. There also likely will be some centralized locations where we know, okay, ACE has a standing arrangement to clean this area on this basis, and therefore it is appropriate for ACE to site a container there. We're working extremely closely with them, have had quite a few meetings with them about how to operationalize this.
I'd like to recognize Councilmember Palladino, who's joined us, and also Brewer, who I mentioned earlier. So organization like ACE, approximately how many containers would they be required to purchase, and also how much are we expecting that cost to be? They did mention a $5 million number. That's extremely concerning, but just wanted to get your perspective on that.
We do not have a number for that. We think it's an ongoing conversation. There are several areas where ACE will not need a container at all. There are quite a few places where they will containerize without a container. They will work with existing infrastructure that's there. And then there may be some places where a container is warranted. We're working with them on that. And by the way, they are absolutely at the highest level of good faith effort. They're not at risk of getting summoned. We're working closely with them. We're looking for compliance, but they're nowhere near the point where they have to worry about getting tickets from us on this.
Yeah, and that's very nice, but if we don't get rules that they could potentially comply with in the future, you know, we'll always be on step one.
Right.
And they'll never comply, which is, you know, obviously a problem. Okay, moving on to some additional topics. Are there any requirements related to insurance on the issue of containerization and also maintenance?
I'll do maintenance first. There is a requirement to sign a maintenance agreement. This is something that's longstanding practice for different types of street furniture. We don't want one of these things going out on the street and becoming gross, right? The whole point of them is that they're supposed to make our streets cleaner. So there is a maintenance agreement that bids have to sign. We have not received any feedback that that's onerous or difficult, or during the walkthroughs, that's not one of the issues we hear about as a problem. Although if you hear otherwise, Mr. Chair, obviously we would love to know, and so that we can address that. On insurance, there is no requirement to insure the containers. I have heard that some organizations are considering doing so. It's not something that we're deeply involved in. We're obviously happy to provide our input on the specifics. I have heard that they may just add it in under their existing commercial insurance that they have as nonprofits, but it's not required by the rule.
Okay, and I know this is a new program that hasn't been fully implemented yet, but based on the pilot that was implemented in Harlem, Community Board 9, how much are we expecting general maintenance of these containers to cost? What's a very rough ballpark?
Well, I wouldn't say that it's possible to estimate a cost because every bid is going to have different thoughts about how frequently they want to deep clean their containers. We're doing the ones in West Harlem 4 times a year, but those are high-grade molded plastic, whereas many of these may be metal. So I can't provide a cost estimate, but the maintenance agreement, and also some bids may choose to do that with existing resources, right? They may say, I have staff who can clean it, I don't have to pay any more, and some of them may need an outside vendor. It's something we do talk about during the walkthroughs, and obviously they have an obligation to maintain the cleanliness of the containers themselves and the sites, but there's too much flexibility written into the rule to provide a cost estimate.
Okay, and moving on from maintenance, talk to us about the specific containers that must be purchased. Is there a specific brand or type of container, and also any specific rules related to the size of the containers that they must purchase?
There is no specific brand, and we want to give the bids the flexibility to shop around, to not worry about city PPB rules, all that stuff. There are container specifications required, maximum length of 14 feet, maximum height of 5 feet for site visibility, maximum width of 6.5 feet. They have to be non-flammable, fully enclosed. We require that there be reflective imagery on it, right, for pedestrian safety. We also prohibit advertising on the side of them. They can put the bid name, but no paid advertising in addition to that. Again, this is all for neighborhood cleanliness and quality of life.
Okay, I'd like to recognize Council Member Zhuang, who has joined us. On the issue of costs, how much are we expecting these containers to cost?
Well, an additional litter basket might cost, they could use a wheelie bin that's $50, they could use a wire mesh litter basket that's $400, or they could use a stationary on-street container that at the highest quality and largest size might be around $10,000. It's entirely up to the organization to figure out which is the best one for them. They also, as mentioned in testimony, do have the ability to pursue no-cost options. They do not need necessarily, in some cases, an additional container, as long as there's an alternate solution to getting the bags off the street, if they want to just site it within an existing facility or location.
Okay, and brief question for SBS. What's the budget, what's the total budget for the smallest bid in our city? More or less, are we talking about 100,000?
More or less 100,000 for the smaller bids. The largest bids can go up to $29 million annually.
29 million versus $100,000. Okay, and about how many small bids do we have with a budget of in that range?
I could get back to you with the exact number of how many, but it really varies, council member, and we're really proud that the city has the largest network of bids in the country, 77 bids, and even when we talk about supplemental sanitation, it varies. You've got bids that spend almost $2.6 million in supplemental sanitation, then you've got other bids that spend roughly $60,000 on supplemental sanitation, because it varies by the geography of the bid, the density of businesses, and the contiguity of the bid boundaries.
Okay, if you had a guess, approximately how many bids do we have with a budget between, let's say, $100,000 and like $250,000? Super rough guess. If you don't have the numbers in front of you,
We
would
can
you say
get back
10?
to you. If you give me a couple minutes, we'll get back to you with
Okay,
a real number.
couple minutes. I'll be back.
Thank you.
If I might just jump in, Mr. Chair, at the topic that I think you're getting at with the question, I would just say, I mean, we've got several dozen bids that have already placed their orders for on-street containers or additional litter baskets or wheelie bins. I mean, we have found our partners in the bid community who share the vision of getting the trash bags off the street. That's part of the reason that they exist in the first place, is for cleanliness and quality of life. Really, to be incredibly enthusiastic about moving this forward after we've been able to have these walkthroughs.
Yeah, and I know you've had a lot of conversations with the 76 bids in our city. I think you've done walkthroughs with about 66, I think the number is, unless it's been increased recently. Based on your conversations with the many bids in different parts of our city, how much, and also based on your knowledge, based on all the work that you've done on the issue, how much would it cost the average bid to fully comply with the rules?
It would be, I don't think it would be meaningful to average it out, because some of the bids are just so much bigger than others. And also because on the other end, there are bids that are pursuing no-cost solutions. So
what's our range, though? Are you talking about $80,000 for, let's say, the Fordham bid? I know all of you did a walkthrough there not too long ago. $80,000, or you think $200,000 is more of a better ballpark?
Councilmember, that's so hard to answer, only because we could base this on pure volume, right? Some bids only generate 40 bags. So on a pure volume basis, I could say that bid only needs 1 container. That bid might choose to get multiple containers because of the length of the bid, so it's very hard to cost out, but some bids could get away with $6,000 on a one, if they were going with an on-street container, $6,000, 1 on-street container, and that can service the whole bid. Some bids, like the commissioner was saying, is a wheelie bin. Bayside went with extra baskets, so it could be even lower than that.
Is there any bid that you've visited where 1 large container would comply with the rules?
There's been several, yes.
Okay. All right, I'll ask a few more questions and then I'll pass it on to colleagues. I know many of them have questions. So on the issue of funding, will DSNY or SBS provide funding for the purchasing of the containers? Is there any program currently in place to help with the funding and compliance?
Mr. Chair, as mentioned, the cost is one of the issues that we hear about most frequently during the walkthroughs. We know that it's a subject of significant concern for the bids and supplemental sanitation service providers when it comes to compliance. And we know that the council's budget proposal did include a fund for grants to bids. Obviously, conversations about the adopted budget are ongoing now, and we hope to be able to say more in the next couple days. But I can also mention that when bid containerization was first piloted in 2022, there was a grant program at that time.
Okay, and does DSNY or SBS think that it'll be appropriate to have a grant to help with these containers? And
Well-
if yes, which would be the proper agency to manage it?
It was a useful program during the pilot. I don't want to say anything to prejudice ongoing conversations about the adopted budget, but certainly we all know that the grant program was helpful in 2022, and the conversations are ongoing about what is appropriate for the 25-26 adopted budget. DSNY administered the grant program last time, and we're prepared to continue doing so if one is available.
Okay. Is that also the perspective of SBS? DSNY would be the better agency to manage the program?
Yes, council member. I think DSNY has the expertise working with bids, but also with the wholesalers, suppliers, manufacturers, fabricators of containers. So it makes sense for them to be involved
Okay.
in any potential grant program.
Cool. All right, so I have pages of questions, but I'll pause here for now. I'll pass it on to Councilmember Brewer and then Councilmember Palladino.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank sanitation because I know we're doing a walkthrough on the west side, I think on Monday, on this topic, and I appreciate it. $6,000 for the Goddard Riverside Greenkeepers is not doable. So I assume you have, in addition to the ACEs and the bids, and maybe the chambers, you have these nonprofits also doing cleaning. They in no way can afford $1,000, literally. So how are we going to deal with groups like them who are, in this case, disabled New Yorkers
Right.
who are doing the cleaning at, you don't want them to not have jobs.
I completely agree. Thank you, Councilmember. And it's the example you give is one of so many organizations that provide opportunities, but also do so much great work for the neighborhoods that they serve. This is in no way intended to put them out of business, right? But the flip side of it is that obviously disabled New Yorkers shouldn't have to play a game of hopscotch around the bags of trash on the street. So we have to find a solution. And that's the purpose of the walkthroughs. We've conducted probably total walkthroughs, including return visits, triple digits-ish, and those will continue indefinitely. In a case like this one, we might find that a $50 wheelie bin is more than enough. We might find that more than that is necessary, in which case we could look at possibly partnering with another local organization.
There are
that might
no
have
other
space.
organizations to partner with.
Well,
This-
every building on that area, and I don't want to get ahead of the walkthrough, that's the point of the walkthrough, but all the buildings there are containerized. The park itself is containerized. There may be opportunities to leverage existing resources. That's what we're going to find out.
All right, okay.
And the walkthrough itself satisfies the requirement to make a good faith effort.
I was going to ask you, what is a good faith effort? I know what
Absolutely.
it is on Local Law 97. I have memorized it. It's called Call DOB and Make a Deal. That's what I do. But what does it mean here?
In our case, basically, and the chair asked about this earlier.
know, I'm
but-
sorry.
No, not at all. I just said that it's much easier to define a bad faith effort, and then everything else is a good faith effort. In our view on this issue, a bad faith effort is an organization saying, I'm never getting the bags off the street, and you can't make me.
Right.
Anything other than that is a good faith effort. Someone saying, can you come help me figure it out? Okay, I'm ordering this, I'm doing the citing. Hey, listen, I can't do this until the next fiscal year. Is that okay? All of that is okay.
Okay.
Being in touch with us about compliance, that's all we're looking for.
Okay, and this is all, the purpose of all of this is rat abatement. Is that the whole purpose of all of this?
Rat abatement as well as sidewalk passability.
Sidewalk?
Passability, not leaving sort of these bags on the sidewalks in places that people need to walk.
Okay, I mean, I never have a problem with the bags, I'll be honest with you, because these folks put them neatly tied, not like the general public. They always put them neatly tied next to the appropriate location. So it's not like the bag is in the middle of the street like, you know, others. So I don't know. I think you still needs a lot of work. The worst thing is to tie people up who are doing the work so that they end up not doing the work. And I worry about that, you know, being the case. You think ACE and others are already fine with what you're suggesting? Is that what you're saying?
I think we're well on our way to having solutions for compliance for everyone. And I think that, you know, the bags, and I know if we disagree on this, so be it, Councilmember, obviously, but my feeling is that we all, as longtime New Yorkers, get used to the bags. When they're gone, you can't imagine that we used to live with like every corner has bags of trash on it, no matter how neat they are.
Okay. The issue is, okay, I mean, the other issue is just garbage on the streets having nothing to do with bags. I would say that's a bigger issue, but not subject of this hearing. My final question is the cleaning, I know you talked about it, in District 9, in Community Board 9 it is. How is that cleaned now? I mean, maybe answer that. And I know
Yes.
they're plastic and not metal.
There are two pieces to the cleaning. One is that the property owners are responsible for just sort of regular sweeping around them. The normal requirement that a property owner sweep 18 inches into the curb, that extends around the Empire Bin now.
Okay.
And then the inside, they get
Inside
a
is what I'm
deep
interested.
cleaning 4 times a year, provided by a vendor contracted with DSNY.
All right, so you pay for that?
Yes.
The property owner pays. So in this case, it would be the bid or the chamber or the whatever would be paying for that 4 times a year?
The maintenance cost, yes.
Okay, I'm just saying, I don't know that these smaller organizations have that funding. I know because I fund every penny almost of their operations, and it's very, very tight. So I just think, and also the smaller bids are having a heart attack, saying that their boards are not accepting this idea.
I believe that the walkthroughs have been the nitroglycerin for that heart attack, and that we're getting closer to reaching
Okay.
understanding with bids of all sizes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Brewer, for the questions. We also want to acknowledge Councilmember Krishnan, who's just joined us. So I know you mentioned you don't have a total cost for full compliance for our entire city, but do we have a super rough ballpark? I mean, you know, it's a great rule. Make sure that we take steps to remove trash and also rats off our streets. But, you know, just in general, I don't know if it's good policy to just pass big rules without analyzing how much it'll cost.
We have absolutely analyzed how much different solutions will cost. It's just that we don't know what solution each bid will choose. And we wrote the rule purposefully to give them that flexibility. If I might say to a bid, you really only need 1 container. And they go, well, you know, I kind of like the way it looks if I put 1 on each side of the street. That just blew my cost estimate, but it was their choice. Bids can comply for, depending on their size, anywhere from $50 into the tens of thousands of dollars.
Based on the options that you've analyzed, though, is there a rough ballpark for how much it'll cost to fully containerize every part that's required to be containerized? Are we talking about $5 million, $10 million?
I certainly think that $10 million is far beyond what we're looking at here. Even if every bid were to choose the most deluxe, extravagant solution possible, it's hard to imagine a price tag above $5 million, but I actually suspect the ultimate price tag will be substantially lower than that.
Lower than 5 million. Okay. Also, appreciate the good and bad faith rule, making sure that we're not trying to fine our way out of the problem. You've mentioned it numerous times during hearings and also phone calls, but is that rule also in writing just to make sure that bids and different organizations know that the rule will be? It's in writing. Okay.
Writing.
All right. Also, is there any no-cost solution for compliance? For example, can a bid or ACE, for example, bring trash to a DSNY location?
Yes, that is an option that's on the table. It may, in terms of staffing costs, You know, there will be personnel costs involved for the bid, but we're happy to work on that, and it is one of the solutions that we discuss at the walkthroughs. There are also maybe no-cost solutions that involve using existing facilities. You know, a bid might say, well, you know, we have this office space and there's room in the basement or in the back, or, you know, every bid is different. Every one of the 76 bids provides an incredible service, and they're all structured differently. But certainly, there are many who will have access to no-cost solutions.
Good. Okay, so existing facilities, also DSNY locations. What else? What are other no-cost solutions that you've talked about, thought about?
Working with businesses that are members of the bid, saying, you know, can we get this into your existing containers? May be possible in some cases. And then, you know, obviously just coordinating with us on pickup times, drop-off. We can do whatever we can to kind of reduce the need for containers and limit the volume overall.
Okay, also briefly on the CB9 pilot program in Harlem. Was that a pilot program specifically for residential containerization, or everything including bids and other organizations?
Yes, it's residential only, and it's only the largest residential buildings. It's all buildings with 31 or more units are required to participate, and buildings with 10 to 30 units were given an opportunity to opt in for participation. And if they did not opt in, they have to use regular wheeled bins. The reason why that pilot is for a specific waste stream, namely residential trash, is that those bins are lifted with a special truck, the first of their kind automated side-loading truck in North America, and there's a finite number of those trucks that run on defined routes.
Okay. Yeah, talk to us about that pilot. How much funding was allocated towards the program? Is the number $700,000? I think that's what I read somewhere, but if you could confirm that. Also, how many bins were purchased? How large were the bins? And how much of the funding went towards purchasing the bins versus getting them installed, maintaining, and et cetera? If you could give us a rough breakdown of those numbers.
The funding, I'm going to see what we have. But on the other operational answers, I know those off the top of my head. It's about 1,100 containers. They are 4 cubic yards each, which is 800 gallons. So they hold, if you think about like a full-size black trash bag, they hold 25 to 28 of those. And thank you very much. Oh, it was in. And the budget in FY25 was $3.4 million, of which 280,000 or so was the containers, and a significant amount was outreach and also personnel cost. And then in FY26, it's 2.3 million, of which 800,000 is containers, 800,000 or so is collection personnel, and the remainder is civilian staff to administer the program.
Got it. Can you repeat the number for the 1,100 containers? What was the total funding for that?
The total cost, it was split across 2 fiscal years. And the cost of the containers in FY24 was $278,000, and in FY26 is $836,000.
All right, so total of about $1 million for 1,100 containers.
That's correct.
Okay, doing some math here. Okay.
It's a different cost analysis because that is they're leased. We didn't purchase them. And the leasing includes the maintenance. So that's an all-in cost for the cleaning, the repair. You know, they have a key card to open them, the electronics, all of that. So it's not a one-to-one exactly because they're leased rather than purchased.
Okay, but I guess roughly it's about $900 per container.
It's
roughly, if you
certainly
just
to
average it
have them
out.
on the street for a year, it's about that much, yes.
Okay. All right, so I'll pass it on to Councilmember Bottcher to be recognized, and I'll pass it on to Councilmember Zhuang, who has some questions on this topic.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. I have a question. I asked sanitation before. I know you guys help a lot of small business owners, help them to regulate everything in their store. And I spoke to sanitation. They said they're going to work with you guys about the store, what's that called? Stop line permit, the outside. Did the project start yet?
Stoop line permits?
Stop line, because a lot of people put the stand outside, they don't know the regulation, and the sanitation go there to ticket them.
Yes.
And then you guys have the people speak the language in the street, and also the force there. What's that situation can you guys work together? Like, did the sanitation staff talk to you guys?
So we at sanitation are enforcing stoop line violations now. And I know we attended your street vending roundtable and discussion about that recently. It's all about passability. It's all about, seniors, disabled New Yorkers, people coming and going from school, being able to get down the sidewalks and not worry about a business encroaching on our public space. So it is something we're enforcing against increasingly. And if you'd like to discuss a sort of
Oh,
more
I mean,
long-term-
did you guys, because small business service, they do have this type of service to help small business owners inside the store, but they don't have anyone have the knowledge outside the store. The stoop line is outside the store.
Right.
Last time we talked, you said we're gonna start kind of collaboration between small business service and the sanitation. What's the status now?
Thank you, Councilmember Zhuang. So our team is trained on a variety of regulations that impact small businesses, including DSNY, DOT. We do have, our teams are trained in the basics of stoop line regulations, and we are able to go out. My understanding is there's a business in the district that was impacted by an enforcement action. In that case, I think it was a direct enforcement action. I think maybe there wasn't enough time for us and our team to get involved beforehand. But whenever there are businesses in the district that you feel like could benefit from a free compliance consultation that our team can provide, we're happy to visit the district, and certainly in that neighborhood too. If there's any particular businesses that the district is noticing could benefit from that service, we'll always be in the streets in the language that the community speaks, making sure that businesses understand the.
Did you guys already have the training? Or
My understanding is the business, we may be talking about a different business, but one of the businesses that you had elevated, I think it was after the fact. I think the enforcement
Yes.
action had taken place at that
yes.
time.
Is any schedule coming up in my district doing the training?
Whenever you'd like us to be there, we'll be there, and we can coordinate with your team on a schedule as well.
Okay, I will follow up afterward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Also, going back to the numbers related to the Harlem project or CB9 pilot containerization. So approximately $1 million to purchase, install about 1,100 containers. So approximately $1,000 roughly for the containers. Could you give us a breakdown of that number, $1,000 per containers number, how much to purchase, maintain,
It's
install?
an all-in price. They're leased specifically for that reason, so they were not purchased, actually. The city has leased those containers. It was a competitive RFP where we were seeking a vendor to manufacture, install, clean, repair, and manage the containers. And that's the price we were able to come out with.
And again, that was for residential only.
Correct.
Approximately how large are those containers, especially when compared to that $6,000 number that you mentioned earlier?
They're 4 cubic yards, which is the size of a 25 to 28 of the full-size black trash bags, 800 gallons. The on-street container is, there's a size that is the same. There's one that's the same size, and there's one that's maybe 60% larger. And so, just again, for every bid to determine what's the right solution for them in coordination with our operations team.
Okay. So I think the two agencies, sanitation, also SBS, agrees that DSNY might be the best agency to manage a grant program if that's something that we reach an agreement on.
Correct.
Councilmember, I do have the numbers on the budgets for the bids, a rough estimate, if that's helpful for you. So 11 bids have budgets of under $300,000 a year. 48 have a budget of under 1 million, and 29 have a budget more than $1 million.
All right, thank you for those numbers. All right, what are some of the grant programs that DSNY has managed before? You don't have to give us the full summary, but just give us a brief summary of different programs that you've managed.
We managed a grant program related specifically to bid containerization in 2022. I believe that program was funded at $1 million, and the grants were capped at $20,000 each at that time. We've also managed grant programs related to composting outreach and education. DSNY has administered a number of grants for different community groups over the years, although we operate none at this time.
Yeah, and talk to us about the process for getting reimbursed. Of course, these grants are reimbursable grants. The bids need to spend the funds first, and then they get reimbursed for it. Talk to us about that process, and generally, based on what you know, how long did it take for the bids to get reimbursed? I know in city government, it takes 1,000,000 years for these, for any nonprofit to get reimbursed, so just wondering the DSNY numbers
Well,
on that
maybe
issue.
it's city government at large, but not at DSNY where we
All
work
right,
fast.
good.
Now, I can say that I know that part of the reason why that program capped its grants at $20,000 was to line up with the micro purchase threshold and therefore allow faster reimbursement. I don't have data about what the speed of reimbursements was at that time, but as far as I know, it was a successful program.
All right, and also the numbers related to the costs, they seem, the numbers that you mentioned seem low, but we keep getting different numbers from different stakeholders, including from DSNY, from the small businesses, from the bids, and everyone else. If we create a grant program, of course, the city is going to be helping pay for the containers. So just wondering, has DSNY thought about potentially, rather than requiring that the bids or organizations purchase the containers, rather than the organizations doing that, the DSNY potentially purchasing, so that you're ready to have the relationships. If you purchase them in large quantities, you're going to get a better deal out of it. Obviously good for everybody,
Yes.
including for the city. But on top of that, we might be able to get full compliance on day one, given that you're going to have the containers and all they need to do is be installed.
We have looked at that, but the trade-off is then the bids would lose full flexibility about how they want to comply, what they want it to look like, where they want it to be, what size they want, what solution they want to pursue. If the city purchased them, yes, then there's no reimbursement, but the flip side is you get what you get and you don't get upset. There would no longer be any ability to say, well, I'd prefer to comply using existing resources. I want to make use of this space. I want to design it like this. I prefer this brand or that brand. Under city procurement rules, we would have to do an open competitive RFP. It would take more than a year, and then the bids would be stuck using exactly what we dictate. And based on our community conversations, the preference seems to be for the bids to have flexibility instead, and to consider reimbursement options separately should that come out of budget negotiations.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if the size issue would be an issue. I mean, DSNY could arguably purchase a whole lot of different containers of different sizes, and then the bids could say, hey, we need this size based on the area that we cover, the territory that we cover.
If the purpose of purchasing it is to try to get bulk discounts, try to scale it quickly, there might be different sizes in such a model, but it would still be, you'd lose complete control over whether you want wheels, no wheels, whether you want it, to look like this or look like that, right? They're all going to come off the same assembly line that way.
Yeah, and on that same issue, what are steps that we're taking to make sure that the rollout of the program and compliance isn't sloppy? I mean, I could just imagine a bid spending funds on bins that do not properly comply with the rules. So what are we doing to make sure that that doesn't happen?
No purchase should be made, and as far as I know, no purchase has been made prior to the walkthroughs and in coordination with submission for DOT approval, because of course you wouldn't know what to order until the walkthrough takes place. The guidelines are online at nyc.gov/cleancurbs and have been for some time. They are very much aligned with existing guidelines that bids are very familiar with, and I think, again, it's just that's the reason for the very high-touch outreach. When we implemented citywide commercial containerization, you were talking about 200,000 businesses, right? It required sort of widespread, scattershot outreach. For this program, it's a finite universe of 77 bids. That allows us to work extremely closely with them and to make sure that everybody understands. And it's part of the reason why we're moving forward with the August 1st effective date, to give all organizations involved the clarity about what is required and to get them on the path to compliance.
Okay. Also, the final language of the adopted rule on bids suggests that bids should go to local council members and apply for discretionary funding, Two questions on that. Do we have updates on whether bids have been applying for discretionary funding for containerization? And if so, have they succeeded?
It's come up at the walkthroughs. We've had bids say, I plan to apply for discretionary funding. We don't obviously get too deeply involved in their finances and their conversations with council member offices. And we've had council members reach out and say, I'm hearing from a bid. Is this, are they describing the program accurately? Is this correct? So we know it's happening, but obviously we are not directly involved in that.
And why didn't DSNY ask for this funding itself? Why make the bids apply for the funding?
All residents, businesses, organizations are required to get the bags off the street. It would not be appropriate for DSNY to be funding this beyond any potential conversations about grants because we know that every bid needs a different solution.
All right, a few questions for SBS. How has SBS been working with small businesses and bids to improve containerization?
Thank you, Councilmember. We're proud to support the network of 77 bids in the city. We just recently signed the East Harlem bid into law. The mayor did last week. And the bids promote and enhance our corridors. They drive the local economy, provide vital services. We know that bids have collected nearly 4 million trash bags. They've cleaned over 450 instances of graffiti, and they maintain over 6,000 garbage receptacles across nearly 300 miles of commercial corridor storefronts. So we're really proud of the work that the bids do, and we're always in conversations with our partners at DSNY as they lead policy development on containerization, make sure that they are hearing about the issues and concerns that are elevated to us through the bid network.
What has been the collaboration between SBS and DSNY when creating and implementing this new policy?
We've been in conversations much earlier, before the policy rollout. We made sure, and SBS facilitated conversations between DSNY and the Bid Association and other bids, so they've got a direct line of communication. But we also hear from bids through our governance role on the bid boards, where we, just like the council members, have a seat on the bid board, and also through our monthly bid calls, where we invite leadership and executive directors from the entire bid network to be able to amplify and understand their concerns as they evolve through the months and year.
Okay, and to DSNY, for bids organizations that are not complying, what's the penalties? And also, who was involved in determining the amount?
So it's specified based on repeat offense. There is an escalator. It's $75 for a first offense, $300 for a second offense, $400 for third and subsequent. Those are within a 12-month period, same as other sanitation regulations.
Okay, and regarding placement, who's involved in providing guidance to bids on where they should place? I know you mentioned you do a lot of walkthroughs.
Yes.
But what are factors that must be considered? And also, has there been any concern on how bin placement and street vending could conflate in some neighborhoods?
So I'll, in a moment, pass it to Chief Otero, who's been the operational lead on this. But I'll just say that the siting guidance that we provide is based on the operational needs of the bid and of sanitation and our best understanding of the DOT siting requirements, which then go through final review. Chief Otero has done, I think you'll likely hear this in public testimony, a truly gargantuan task in figuring out the appropriate locations for so many of these containers in coordination with the bids directly, and I'll let him speak to some of the criteria that go into that.
Yeah, Councilmember, so we try to let the bid tell us where they would like the container, what's going to work best for their cleaning team, what's going to work best for their corridors. We know nobody knows their particular area as they do. So we just help them when they do come up with their locations to make sure they're following the rules. It can't be by a curb, certain amount of feet from a fire hydrant, tree pits. If it's in the street and it's in an alternate side space, DSNY has discretion over that, so that's easier for us to approve. But ultimately, we leave it up to the bid. We try to find out where they want it, and then we follow the DOT guidelines. We do try to cite when we go out. If a bid tells us they're going to buy 5 or 6 containers, we try to double that in approved, pre-approved sites. And then we also help them with the second process with the application and getting it approved by DOT.
Okay, a few more questions for SBS. So smaller bids often have a difficult time absorbing large new costs due to their budgets, and also purchasing bins to meet the requirement of this new rule could prove challenging. Has there been any discussion with DSNY on how to mitigate these challenges for the smaller bids?
Yes, Council Member. I think the cost associated with containerization and the timeline needed to implement containerization have been two concerns that we've heard throughout the policy discussion here, even before rulemaking. And so grateful that in the final rule, there's an extension of when bids have to comply with the rule, and there's also this good faith provision that allows for bids that are trying their best to containerize to be able to do so.
And how has SBS been working with the different bids since this rule was proposed?
So we work with the bids very closely in our governance role, in our monthly outreach, and also across a variety of programming. But the bids also have longstanding relationships with enforcement agencies and regulatory agencies. And in this case, since DSNY is leading the policy development and the rollout and the enforcement, they're also directly engaging with the bid network. And as you heard in the testimony offered by DSNY, 66 bids have benefited from either a walkthrough in their districts or meetings with their leadership and with DSNY's leadership.
What would SBS suggest to make compliance easier, specifically for the smaller bids who might have limited funding?
I think it will really depend, Council Member, on the specific bid, the neighborhood that they're operating from, the business density in those neighborhoods. But certainly what we've heard is costs are one of the concerns that bids have outlined as for some major barrier. But it is helpful, the fact that DSNY is engaging with them one-on-one, really understanding operationally, are there any other alternative pathways to get to compliance by the end of the calendar year?
All right. Okay. A few questions for going back to DSNY. How many bids applied for the Clean Curbs program, and how many have been approved?
So at the moment, there have been 8 applications submitted, and quite a few that have verbally told us they are working to, dozens more that say they are working on their applications now. Then there are 16 that already have on-street containers, thanks to either prior programs or because they've gone ahead and done the approval process on their own, even without a requirement. So 16, 8, and then there's also 7 who we're helping them work with their working with them on their applications.
Got it. And speaking about working on the applications, we've heard a lot of feedback from different bids and also groups. The Clean Curbs application is very complex and may cause issues with the smaller bids who do not employ urban planners or civil engineers. So just wondering, is it possible to simplify the requirement or provide more clear guidance for this application?
Eliminated that form. Doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, beautiful. And who should bids reach out to if they need assistance with the application?
At the moment, they all should have heard from Chief Laterra, but I'm going to put his email address on the record right now. Frank Laterra at FLETTERA@DSNY.NY. Oh, FLaterra1. Let me start over. FLETTERA, the number 1, at dsny.nyc.gov, and you are going to get a level of service you never expected from municipal government.
Thank you. Thank you for the information. Thank you, Frank, for being so responsive to phone calls, texts, and emails. Under the Clean Curbs program, bids must meet specific container requirements. What are the costs of these bins, and is there any maintenance requirements?
There is a requirement to sign a maintenance agreement when the bins are cited, and that also includes flexibility, right? Some bins need to be cleaned much more deeply than others, and again, the bids have the choice of whatever model they like. The costs might range from $50 to $10,000, depending on sizing and on the needs of the bid.
Okay, and I know the program is currently voluntary. Is there any plan to make it a requirement?
Well,
to change that?
I think that the old Clean Curbs program is supplanted entirely by this new rule. The program name doesn't change, but that is what becomes required and as this rule is implemented and bags on the street are no longer allowed.
Okay, going back to the issue of fines, will you fine bids for their current practice of neatly tying up overflowing trash bags and placing them next to corner baskets?
Only if they are not engaging in a good faith effort to containerize. But that is one of the practices that this rule seeks to get rid of. The idea is that when the basket is overflowing And if it is emptied and tied, now, first of all, as part of the walkthroughs, we're looking to find ways to eliminate the overflowing basket, right? The idea is maybe we need a second basket, maybe we need to change service frequency. But if a bid does want to tie off and bag a basket, then it would not go on the street. It would go into one of these containers or into another offsite somewhere that we've determined in coordination with the bid. But the idea is to get them off the curbs.
What if bids place bags next to corner baskets for a limited amount of time in advance of the prearranged pickup by DSNY?
You know, that's one of those things where, like, you ever get a double parking ticket and you go like, I just pulled over for a second. And it's like, yeah, but you rolled the dice. Like, again, we're not planning to do very heavy enforcement on this. We hope to write 0 tickets for this. But it is true that leaving a bag next to a basket is prohibited under this rule.
What if bids or other groups decide they can't risk the fines and they cease services? Is DSNY able to provide these services, otherwise on overflowing trash bins?
At the moment, in the more than a year that we've been discussing this rule, that hypothetical has come up several times. We have never encountered a situation where that appears likely to actually occur. These bids, and we would hate for it to occur, by the way, these bids and supplemental service providers, they do such important work going above and beyond the high level provided by city sanitation workers. We value them as partners so much, and we are very happy that at this point, that hypothetical, which came up the very first time we talked about this, has never come to pass and does not appear likely to ever come to pass.
There's often concern that bins could either be defaced or stolen. I've actually received a few videos from constituents getting their bins stolen. What recommendations does DSNY make regarding insurance and maintenance of the bins? And would these recommendations be different between bids in the Clean Curbs program?
So this is where you get into that really important point about the freedom given to the bids. Because when you talk about the large on-street containers, yes, they're more expensive, but they weigh 400 pounds. Nobody's stealing those. So it's like you have to decide as a bid in an organization, what is your concern in your area that you serve? For any item that is stolen, obviously there is an existing process of what to do about stolen property, which is to file a police report.
Okay. And what has been SBS's role in the Clean Curbs program?
So when the pilot initially rolled out, we made sure that the bid network was aware about it. DSNY spoke at our monthly bid call, and we made connections to DSNY whenever folks are interested in the program.
And has SBS received any feedback from bids regarding the Clean Curbs application process?
I think generally, Chair Verlies, on the topic of on-street containers, we hear feedback on the siting requirements and how that might be tough for bids to navigate and understanding exactly where placement would be perfect for that bid and meet their needs. And so we're grateful that now there's this ongoing walkthrough sites, meetings with the DSNY that's helping bids understand where might be most optimal for on-street container placement.
I know DSNY has conducted many walkthroughs, about 60-ish out of 76 bids. Has SBS been part of those walkthroughs or conversations?
We're definitely part of conversations. We've been in a walkthrough, I believe, as recently as 2 weeks ago. And so whenever it makes sense for us to be at the table, we work very closely with the bid network and also with our sister agencies.
Okay. According to the FY24 bids trends reports, over 85% of bids with sanitation programs contract out their sanitation staff. Does SBS provide any guidance with these contracts? And how much of a role does SBS play in supplemental sanitation services?
Thank you, Council Member. We don't direct bids to work with specific supplemental sanitation providers. We do offer guidance to bids in terms of having them follow procurement practices, make sure that procurement rules are being followed.
All right, sounds good. All right, so give me 1 minute. Let me see if I have any additional questions, but I think we pretty much covered a lot. I want to make sure that we hear from the bids who have joined today, so just give me 1 second. Let me see if there's any question that I missed. All right, final question for the two agencies. Are there any other agencies that are involved when all of you are engaging in conversations and also doing walkthroughs with bids, small businesses, and different stakeholders?
I would say certainly DOT is very involved. They are part of our regular, our standing meeting with the Bid Association, and they're involved in many of the conversations. Beyond that, I can certainly imagine sort of one-off situations where we would work with other city agencies, but that's, I think SBS, DSNY, and DOT are the primary agencies on this.
Okay, and also going back to the grant program versus DSNY or SBS purchasing the bins, if we take that route where DSNY purchases the bins and then provides them to the different bids, at least on the RFP, I know there is going to have to be an RFP. What's that process like?
It would follow city PPB rules where, so we would have to first develop the guidelines, right? We would have to say, this is what the bin should look like. And then we would put it out to bid and get competitive responses and select a vendor based on capacity, capability to deliver, timeline, and pricing. And then we would have to go out and do what we're doing now anyway, the walkthroughs for siting. So, you know, when you balance, there's no savings in time towards compliance. It wouldn't get us to compliance any faster, and it would take away bid's ability to choose the solution that's right for them.
And what exactly triggers that RFP process? Is it the spending of over, let's say, $1 million?
It's anything over $20,000 that the city wants to purchase. Well, you can spend up to $1.5 million if it's from a minority and women-owned business, but I think we would probably be looking at higher than that for a sort of one-size-fits-all solution. Because again, the solution that you're proposing, or discussing, I don't want to say you're proposing it, that we're discussing here, removes all of those zero-cost options, right? We're saying we're just going with the on-street container model, so it would be a substantially higher cost than we've estimated, and the funding would have to be there for DSNY to begin the RFP process, which at the moment we are not funded to purchase containers for bids.
Right, and obviously not an expert on the issue, but any other option that wouldn't trigger that RFP process that would be a little bit more streamlined than just requiring that the bid's purchased and then get reimbursed many months later?
You know, just grant reimbursements really are the only dispersal method that allows bids to have the flexibility and to move with the speed that they, I believe, want to in order to get the bags off the street.
Okay, and going back to the Clean Curbs program or any other grant program that you've mentioned or have worked on, how long or how fast do businesses or organizations get reimbursed?
Well, you know,
4 months, is that a ballpark?
Just speaking from sort of what my experience here was.
And we'll hear from the bids about on that question too later.
In the 2022 program, all funds were dispersed when the bins were delivered. If the bins were delivered within the calendar year, the funds were dispersed right away. So the grant, I have the timeline here. The application was due August 9th, 2022, and then winners were selected August 31st, 2022. You had to receive your bins by June 30th, 2023, and when you told us the bins were there, you got the money.
Okay. How fast after being told that the bins were there? Are we talking about 30 days, 60, 90?
I mean, how fast does a check clear?
Okay, so it's a pretty fast process. Not
because it was capped at $20,000. If we were to do a future grant program that was higher than that, it might take longer. But if the grants were $20,000 each, I think we could move. We could feel confident that we would move pretty quickly.
Okay, good. And I'm just asking because one thing is for you to get it after you get the bin, but also the next question is after, as in 4 months later or a year later. So that's why I'm asking all the specific questions. Okay, so we want to make sure we hear from the bids. I don't have any more questions. Yeah, so this concludes the DSNY and the SBS part of the testimony. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for all the work you're doing to make sure that we could escalate and win the war on trash and the war against those annoying rats.
Just because that DSNY is not normally in front of this committee, so I just want to mention for your awareness, DSNY Senior Counsel is watching on the live stream, so we'll be observing all of the comments from the bids. I just didn't want anybody to think we were running out. Thank you.
All fine. Thank you so much. Thank you again to everyone who has joined. I now open the hearing for public testimony. I remind members of the public that this is a government proceeding and that the quorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent at all times. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to the Sergeant-at-Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. If you wish to testify at today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant-at-Arms and wait to be recognized. When recognized, you will have 3 minutes. 3 minutes to speak on today's topic, containerization requirements on small business improvement districts. If you have a written statement or additional written testimony, you may submit it for the record. Please provide a copy of that testimony to the Sergeant-at-Arms. You may also email written testimony to testimony@council.nyc.gov. Testimony@council.nyc.gov within 72 hours of the close of this hearing. Audio and video recordings will not be accepted. For in-person panelists, please come up to the table once your name has been called. I'll now call the first panel. I'll call 3 at a time, and then you could speak in this order. Evan Sweet from the Meatpacking Bid. Aaron from the New York City Bid Association. Josh on behalf of David Rose from the Fordham Bid in the Bronx. Actually, I'll call one more. Angel from the Long Island City Bid. Actually, I'll just call everybody. I think we have space for everyone. James Martin from ACE, and Michelle Villa-Gomez from ASPCA. All right, thank you all for joining us today, and also thank you for all the work you do to make sure that our small business corridors are clean, safe, and vibrant and inviting. So yeah, we'll start with Evan Sweet. You could start whenever you're ready. Everyone will get 3 minutes, and then we'll ask questions.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, council members. My name is Evan Sweet. I'm the Director of Neighborhood Operations for the Meatpacking Business Improvement District. I want to thank you again for the opportunity to testify today, and also for your consideration of additional funding in the FY26 budget to fund and support the containerization efforts that business improvement districts like ours are trying to undertake in compliance with the new DSNY rule. I have formal written testimony that I've provided, but I think following the questions that you so well put to DSNY, I wanted to talk briefly about some of the operational considerations that we have as it relates to attempted compliance. I think really the major ones are about the containers themselves and how that actually plays out and procurement of those, jurisdictional issues as it relates to the review of this process, especially with DSNY, with DOT and landmarks and also Public Design Commission, and then a little bit about the RFP process and actually competitive bidding. First of all, on containers, I appreciate that DSNY really wants to find operational flexibility for all business improvement districts in the city. What I will say is that I would much rather prefer, and while I don't speak for all bids, I think a number of us would prefer for DSNY to provide an understanding and guidance and kind of a final understanding of what bins might work. While I do know sanitation through my experience of 6 years at the bid, I am not the world's largest municipal sanitation service, and I think they're much more equipped to understand the processes for identifying an effective container that works for their teams, as well as for most business improvement districts around the city. As it stands, there are really 2 products on the market right now that apply for a medium-sized bid, both of which are quite in an iterative process of design. They've changed a lot in the past few years. During the original Clean Curbs pilot, one of those was a dog, I will be honest, and it was falling apart. They've gotten better, but it's still not perfected. And I think DSNY, as they explained, going through a process to issue design guidance and make sure that they're vetting compliance and a better process is something that we would enjoy. That appreciation, knowing that this has been approved and set out by DSNY and chosen, is much better. They also say we could comply with wheelie bins in the meatpacking district. I would need a block of wheelie bins every day set out to comply with all of that amount of trash. That's just infeasible as it relates to the urban design of our community and the quality of life that we're all trying to work towards. Briefly, I'll also talk about the jurisdictional issues we have here. Beyond the work with DSNY on clean curbs and DOT on the siting guidelines, we also have to work with landmarks in the meatpacking district as well as a number of other bids around the city. As of right now, there's no guidance on how that process will be undertaken and the coordination between DSNY and that agency. With our work on some other public space improvements, we've been working with DOT, and we tried to avoid issues with LPC, and instead it took over 6 months for us to just have staff review at the LPC level to be able to move forward with these public space improvements. Without DSNY creating a program that allows, in a framework that allows compliance through that process, I cannot even start the siting process because I don't even know what's gonna happen through a new complex LPC program. I'm really happy to talk about more operational functions, but again, I thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. So we'll have everyone testify, and then I'll ask questions. Next, we have Erin from the New York City Bid Association.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair Felice and members of the Small Business Committee. I'm Erin Piscopank. I am the Executive Director of the Soho Broadway Initiative, but I'm here today in my role as co-chair of the New York City Bid Association. As you have heard, the Bid Association proudly represents all 77 of the city's business improvement districts, and you're hearing from a number of us now, and others will submit written testimony. As you know, we're deeply concerned about being able to comply with the city's unfunded containerization mandate. Clean streets are near and dear to bid hearts, our legal mandate, and our daily operations. For over 40 years, bids have been trusted partners to New York City, providing services including supplemental sanitation to districts that had been inadequately served by the city due to scarce resources. This includes the bagging and relining of over 10,000 overflowing corner basket trash cans a day. While some bids are able to haul those bags to sanitation garages, most bids simply set nicely tied bags on the sidewalk for DSNY to pick up. Some bids have opted into the Clean Curb pilot program to reduce the number of bags at key corners, but expanding containerization to accommodate all of the public trash that the bids bag would be far too costly for many bids. DSNY finalized a rule in March despite testimony from over 100 bids, nonprofit service providers, and community groups opposing the unfunded mandate. Now, DSNY is threatening to fine bids for their current sanitation practices. While we completely understand the desire to get bags off of the street, this is a huge operational and financial burden for bids. While bids are already partners in getting trash off the streets, these changes to our operations will be financially impossible for many bids. There's also the complexity of siting containers with DOT, PDC, LDC, and local stakeholders. Containerizing for bids is different from businesses and residents in two main ways. Handling trash is the key primary service provided by most bids, and the trash we manage is not generated by our operations. It is, in fact, public trash. Let me be clear. If there is no funding for the FY26 budget if there's no funding in the FY26 adopted budget, it will be nearly impossible for many bids to comply with this mandate by January 1st. For most bids will likely take multiple years to ramp up to the no bags goal. This new unfunded mandate could also, for some districts, necessitate raising their assessment ceiling, a process that can take up to 2 years and requires both board and city council approval. We estimate that at least $5 million in funding will be necessary in the budget to purchase enough containers to service all of the city's bid districts. We hope the mayor and council will come together to provide this funding. In addition to purchasing containers, there will be additional costs for operations, maintenance, and insurance. If there is no funding, there's a real possibility that some bids, especially in underserved communities, will have no choice but to cease supplemental sanitation services altogether. In that case, the city would not have bags on the street. It would have overflowing trash cans along the nearly 300 miles of key corridors across the city. This isn't what bids want, and we suspect it's not what the council, DSNY, or the mayor wants. We remain committed to the partnership with DSNY and the City of New York, but are pleading for the flexibility, clarity, and resources needed to meet this unfunded mandate.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Next, we'll hear from Josh on behalf of David Rose from the Fordham bid.
Thanks, Chairman Felice. I'm Joshua Noller. I represent the Fordham Road bid, and I'm testifying on behalf of our chairman, David Rose, and this is the testimony he's presenting today. As a third-generation property owner whose family roots on Fordham Road trace back more than 75 years. As you are well aware, Fordham Road has no shortage of challenges. The recent Commercial District Needs Assessment survey conducted by the bid a few years ago showed that the two most important issues for our businesses and community stakeholders, both in and around the bid, are public safety and sanitation. The glue holding these two together is enforcement. The proliferation of illegal food and general merchandise vendors on Fordham Road makes compliance with containerization incredibly challenging for us. In the spring, the bid began conducting informal vendor counts that we distribute publicly on a regular basis. Simply put, the situation is getting out of hand, and on some days, we see more than 350 vendors. In the last week alone, the Department of Sanitation confiscated nearly 40,000 pounds of food from illegal food vendors. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and in my many years on Fordham Road, this is the worst it's ever been. It's devastating for our small business community, many of whom, like David and myself, have been on Fordham Road for generations. I'm sharing this feedback with you because in many locations along Fordham Road, vendors obstruct the right-of-way with their setups, with very little room for shoppers to navigate the sidewalk at various pinch points. And as you know, Fordham Road has a curbside bus lane on both sides of the street, limiting the placement of containers to our overloaded sidewalks on Fordham Road, which, as a reminder to this council, is a restricted street. No general merchandise vending Monday through Saturday. The council must find a way to help bids like ours pay for the containers and also to fund additional enforcement measures and initiatives for illegal vending so that the city's requirement for containerization for bids does not come into direct conflict with the out-of-control illegal vending and dumping we are not just seeing on Fordham Road, but around the city. This is also at the heart of why the bid also strongly opposes Intro 431. Thank you for the opportunity to testify here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony, and thank you for everything you do at Fordham Road, the Bronx's busiest commercial corridor. Next, we'll hear from Angel from the Long Island City bid.
Yes. Hello, my name is Angel Hart, and I represent the Long Island City Business Improvement District, the largest geographic bid in New York City. I'm here today to urge the City Council to provide funding for bids to comply with DSNY's new containerization rules. For over 20 years, our bid has worked in close partnership with the Department of Sanitation. We share the city's goal of cleaner streets and rat mitigation. In fact, more than 50% of our budget is already dedicated to sanitation, everything from sweeping sidewalks and removing graffiti to bagging public trash from 120 corner bins across the district. Last year alone, we bagged over 45,000 bags of trash. However, the newly proposed containerization rules place an unfunded mandate on bids like ours, expecting us to take on expensive and logistically complex changes, such as purchasing on-street bins, wheeled containers, or hauling trash ourselves, without any financial support. These costs are unrealistic, especially in a district as large and complex as ours. Without funding or flexibility, these rules threaten the viability of bid-run sanitation services across the city. Bids are not the problem, we are the part of the solution. But if the city expects us to step up, it must step up with financial support. We urge the council and administration to allocate dedicated funding for bids to implement containerization solutions in a way that reflects the scale, scope, and needs of each district. Let's continue working in partnership to keep NYC's commercial corridors clean, safe, and vibrant. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next, we'll hear from James from ACE New York.
Good afternoon, Chair Felice. My name is Jim Martin. I'm the Executive Director of ACE New York, Queens-based nonprofit organization. For over 10 years, ACE has worked in partnership with the City Council and the Department of Sanitation, removing municipal trash from city streets, keeping our streets and sidewalks safe and clean for all New Yorkers. We fill in excess of 1 million garbage bags every year across all 5 boroughs. As you know, beginning in August, supplemental sanitation providers like ACE and our bid brothers and sisters here will be required to place trash bags and containers for DSNY collection. Department of Sanitation, as we know, will begin issuing fines to organizations for noncompliance in January. ACE has estimated the cost to purchase, ship, install, insure, and maintain the necessary amount of containers in all 5 boroughs that we serve well in excess of $1 million. As a nonprofit on a limited budget, ACE does not have the funds necessary to be in compliance with this policy. The problem with these expenses is so many of them are unknown and won't be realized until containers are on the ground, making projecting budgets year to year extremely difficult. Should these expenses, known and unknown, be passed on to our city council partners who fund our services in the city, it would greatly limit their ability to fund what we do and provide the services we provide to over 40 council districts per year. Ultimately, the burden of purchasing these containers may result in ACE closing its doors after 33 years of service to New York City, meaning the 165 ACE employees who provide the services we offer the city would lose their jobs. These men and women are graduates of our workforce development program and have overcome homelessness, incarceration, and addiction to re-enter the workforce. This job is a lifeline to them on their journey towards economic independence. Though unintended, this is a real and incredibly cruel consequence of DSNY's unfunded mandate. The implementation of DSNY's containerization initiative, while a positive step towards cleaner, more orderly streets, places an undue burden on ACE and other similar nonprofits here today, in fact, punishing them for partnering with the Department of Sanitation to help keep our city clean. The work we do every day benefits the city, its businesses, and its residents. The trash we remove is not ours. It is municipal waste. ACE and these fellow nonprofits should not be left to shoulder the cost of purchasing these containers. For over 10 years now, ACE has answered the call from our city when it needed us, removing illegally dumped trash, power washing offensive graffiti, clearing dangerous snow and ice from senior homes. Today, I join my partners here in calling on the City Council and the Mayor's Office to stand with us, answer our call, and fund the containerization initiative. Thank you for your continued support of our mission and the men and women we serve, and thank you to the Department of Sanitation for their incredible work and their support during this process.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony. I don't see anyone else signed up in person, so we'll turn on to virtual panelists. For virtual panelists, once your name is called, a member of our staff will unmute you, and the Sergeant-at-Arms will set a timer and give you the go-ahead to begin. Please wait for the Sergeant-at-Arms to announce that you may begin before delivering your testimony. I'll now call off our first panelist. Actually, the list is longer than I thought, so maybe we'll ask all of you questions. We'll ask all of you questions before moving on to Zoom. So yeah, disregard the Zoom panelists or the directions that I just provided. A few questions for all of you. So maybe we could go from, I guess, right to left. I'll ask all of you the same questions. And actually, before the questions, just want to thank you all for, again, all the work that you do. I cannot imagine what our commercial corridors would look like without the work that all of you do, literally 7 days a week, working to keep our corridors clean, safe, attractive, vibrant, for the thousands of people that come to support our small businesses. So thank you for all the work that you do, and look forward to making sure that all of you get all the resources so that we could be able to not only win this war on rats, but do it in a way where we're not going to be harming our commercial corridors and those that serve them. So a few questions, and I know some of you already touched on the issue. I guess we could do from right to left. If you could just mention the top 2 obstacles related to compliance with the rule. I'm sure funding is one of them, but yeah, if we could just briefly mention the top 2 obstacles with compliance.
Thank you for that question and your complimentary words about our work. We love the work we do, and we're happy to do it. I'll speak directly for Soho with that hat on. We are in a historic district, and so there is quite a bit of confusion at this point about where the Public Design Commission and Landmarks Preservation Commission come into this process. We've been looking for clarity on that through many conversations with with DSNY over the last year, but it's really difficult to even start to think about siting and procuring the bins when we don't yet know what our engagement with the city will look like to start that process. Funding for the containers themselves is obviously a huge concern, but I think something that has been overlooked in this process really often is the ongoing expenses of this. In order for the clean teams that work at the bids across the city to get the trash to the containers, rather than being able to pull the bag out of the corner bin, tie it up, and set it beside, they now have to figure out how to get to these key spots in the district to put the bags in containers or at locations where they can be carted, et cetera. That may be a few blocks off route. We may need to purchase additional equipment to ease some of that burden. So just the extra labor hours and footsteps that are needed to get that done, as well as the ongoing insurance costs, maintenance costs, any of the affiliated expenses with this. And just to clarify about insurance a bit, I'm not an expert on this, but what I will say is yes, the things that bids purchase as street furniture and put on the street often fall under our existing general liability insurance policies. However, the more street furniture we add, the more liability we hold, and those costs can change really quickly. And getting insurance in the New York marketplace for the work we do is already pretty challenging. And so adding to that burden, I think, is not insubstantial. I'll stop there. I think I've answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so siting and funding. All right.
All right, thank you, Councilmember, for the question. I would agree that site review and the jurisdictional issues as it relates to the various city agencies that would have purview over this, especially in our district as well, the issues related to landmarks and their process are a major concern for us as we move forward and try to comply with this program. I would also say it's the identification of an appropriate container and then the follow-on kind of procurement policy and program. Similar to DSNY, bids also have to maintain and meet the kind of acquisition processes and competitive RFPs as well. And so going through that process and identifying a suitable container that meets the DSNY operational needs without them providing us the kind of feedback on like what they need to see as it relates to a container is unhelpful for us as we try to find the right containerization solution.
Okay.
On behalf of the Fordham Road bid, I would say I would echo our colleagues' funding, number one, especially the insurance. I would say that's probably one of the biggest concerns with the funding aspect. And then I'll say geography. As we alluded to in David's testimony, Fordham has a curbside bus lane in both directions, and that makes the geography and siting of the containers incredibly challenging. And then when you factor in vending and how you have 350 food and general merchandise vendors, most of them of which are illegal on the sidewalk, and there's points along Fordham Road where you maybe have a foot or two to barely squeeze through. And so I would say geography and funding are probably Fordham Road bid's two biggest challenges when it comes to containerization.
Thanks. Yes, I agree with all of those. I would say funding, number one, and for us, we have the largest bid. We just expanded. We also are in an industrial area, so the type of trash that is produced is a little bit different. We have a lot of long corridors in industrial areas. Having our team schlep trash from corner bin to these containers has been very difficult for us to imagine, and siting those in industrial areas is also a little bit more difficult for us because of the fact that trucks and stuff are moving around our streets that aren't normally on other commercial corridors. So those two, but and the difference in our main commercial area to our industrial area, having our team move in between without a vehicle or something like that is pretty impossible with just wheelie bins on the sidewalk. I'd also like to say that it was mentioned a couple times that adding more bins could potentially keep bags off the street. That's just not the case because, you know, that doesn't change the fact that other bins are going to fill up and they need to be, you know, the trash needs to be emptied from those. So siting and funding for us too.
Thank you for the opportunity to provide this information, Councilman. I would echo my colleagues by saying it's the upfront immediate cost of purchase and the mystery of what it's going to cost to keep these containers operational going forward. A lot of that is unknown. I could keep you here for about a half hour with the things I don't know or are concerned about. I'll just touch on a few. ACE is unique. We serve 5 boroughs. You know, we're not in one location like my colleagues here who do wonderful, wonderful work. I applaud them all. But unfortunately, ACE is very nimble in the way we do business. And as you know, a council member may call us and say, hey, how about you take care of this block 10 blocks over for the next month and a half because we have some events going on there or it's very busy. If I cite a container and a council member asks me to transfer my services over 10 blocks or a half hour away, I have no containers there. I have to then move that container over to that location or I have to face fines. Another issue, and maybe I'll just cap it at this one because I could keep you here for a while. The application for clean curbs is difficult for us. We're going to be submitting in excess of 100 applications, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 to 130 applications. Each application has to come with a schematic that represents the location where the container is going to be placed. I'm not sure anyone here at this panel has the ability to do that. If they do, I'd love to have them do that for me. But we have to create a schematic over 120 times that represents the location for placement. And that has to be done by a professional. And it costs in excess of $1,000 for one. That was not something that we realized, that we're just finding out now, because now I am in the process of finding out how this works. We submitted an application. My application was refused, and I was told you need to supply a schematic. I've reached out to architects and others, and it costs quite a bit of money to do that. Insurance, another big part of it is if we own these containers, I would be a fool not to insure them above my standard $6 million umbrella policy. I own $1 million worth of anything, I'm insuring it above and beyond what I currently carry. There's not a lot of insurers in the city that are willing to insure street furniture. We all live, and a lot of us live and work here. We know what happens to things that go on city streets. So that is providing a huge, huge obstacle for us as an organization as well.
All right, thank you for the information. And also another question for all of you, two-part question. Number one, I know DSNY mentioned that they've done walkthroughs and conversations with almost all the bids. If you've done a walkthrough with or had conversations with them, how did the conversations go on those issues, which I'm sure you mentioned it to DSNY. So how did the conversations go with DSNY when you mentioned those concerns? And also number two, would you prefer that if we create a grant program, well, if the city can help with the purchasing of these bids, would you prefer that DSNY purchases and provides them, or do you think a grant program would be more efficient and effective? We could start the same way.
Starting with my Soho hat on about the walkthrough, we have not yet done a walkthrough with DSNY about containers, pointing back to the concerns we have with LPC, PDC, lack of clarity of what's expected from us. We will get one on the books because we want to make good faith efforts to be compliant, but it has felt out of order to us up until this point. Swapping my Soho hat for my Bid Association hat, I'll just say, we've been in conversations with DSNY at high levels for months and months now about the containers. And one of the early proposals that we made to DSNY was that, if DSNY is rolling out residential trash containerization citywide over whatever time period, and they will be presumably procuring, siting, maintaining bins citywide, our hope would be that we could just have access to those bins within our districts and put the trash that we manage throughout our district into these pre-existing bins that are serviced by DSNY. I'll say that I personally was really happy when I saw the council response pointing to Empire Bins for the $5 million of funding, because that was really in line with what we had been thinking. To the point that DSNY made, that does sort of limit potentially what different bids can do, but in our proposals we've said bids that want to flag themselves as, getting the fanciest bin there is or a bin of their choice, by all means, but bids should also maybe be able to opt into this, no or low cost purchase through DSNY with the bins that they procure, site, maintain, et cetera.
I think for us, we have had conversations with DSNY. We have yet to have a full walkthrough. I believe we have one actually scheduled for July 3rd. From our conversations, I think my largest frustration relates to the lack of clear, direct answers to highly technical and specific questions about the operation of and siting of bins. An example of that is whether or not DSNY prefers a bin on the north side of a block where there's a right-hand turn, or on the left side of the south side of a block where there's a right-hand turn. Where's the safest location? If we had a bin that would make sure that their sanitation workers were able to effectively clear the bins out, the containers out into their truck without it causing a traffic backup, things like this that I think they know. And their response was very much of well, we're happy wherever you want it to be. And I think, leading to the second part of your question, I think while I really appreciate the opportunity to provide some input as it relates to the specific context of our neighborhood and the local condition, DSNY is the largest municipal sanitation organization in the country. They know municipal trash very well, and I would much prefer them to tell me the best bin for their operation and direct my sanitation staff to put trash into that container. I think for us, as it relates to issues related to landmarks and some of these other considerations, if this was a citywide program with a citywide solution, I wouldn't have to look into some bespoke product that matches the landmarking issues, and instead I can just follow through with what DSNY has recommended. And I think we also would not have to replicate a design and procurement process for all 77 bids if DSNY was the entity to do that for citywide.
Thank you for the question, Council Member and Chairman Felice. On who should pay for it, I think the simple answer is, whether it's a combination of council and grants from the city. I think if there's funding available, we would take it, and I think my colleagues here would also generously take it, however it was funded. On the walkthrough, we did have a walkthrough with sanitation a couple of weeks ago for about, I'd say, a little under 2 hours. It was very productive. I would say the walkthrough was about 75% on containerization, 25% on vending, because we had to navigate around the illegal vending to do the walkthrough. And I'll also just add that when we first shared our concerns with DSNY, and we mentioned to them that Fordham Road had a curbside bus lane in both directions, their reaction was, oy vey, not in those exact terms, but I think they understand just the complex geography of Fordham Road. The only other thing that I'll just also add, just to not repeat what our colleagues said, but just talking to other bids that have started the siting process, I do know that there have been challenges with locations that they've wanted to site and DOT having issues with them. So I do think in the long run, siting, especially on Fordham Road and probably in other corridors, I think will present numerous challenges.
Thank you. Yes, over in Long Island City, we work with DSNY probably weekly. We've had many, many conversations about this and other things. They've been very helpful with helping us figure out what we can do and also what to do in the meantime. We haven't had a walkthrough yet, but we've had these discussions, and we've both sort of agreed that our district is complex and difficult to fully containerize. From the beginning, we've been challenged with, there's just we can't imagine a time that there would just not be any bags on the street at any time during the day with just how big our district is. But I do have to say we appreciate the work that DSNY has offered and the time that they have worked with us on all of that, and the in-between time of figuring out different strategies has been really helpful to us to figure out what we can do in the future. And yes, I think we agree we want funding for this, where it comes from. I think the option is, we would prefer an option of what we can do on our own, but if the funding is coming from DSNY, who has vetted the best containers and procured all of that, I think we would join on board as well.
DSNY has been phenomenal in my experience. Frank and I, Frank was here earlier, we got off to a little bit of a rough start, but he's just been, he's on the phone with me constantly. And he knows how challenging this is. He knows that there's real lives at stake here, certainly with our situation. And he's been kind and supportive and understanding, and I couldn't say more about all the Department of Sanitation. My role here with ACE, I've been here almost 25 years, and they're always fantastic. God bless the DSNY, they're fantastic. On the other hand, who should pay for it? Happy to have the city pick up the tab.
And I just also want to echo, DSNY has been incredibly responsive, and I think that's certainly a positive, and especially for Fordham on just how awful the vending situation has been. They've really stepped up, and I think they understand that the two issues, at least within our district, are very closely tied together.
Cool, thank you. And pick up the tab through a grant program or purchasing upfront and just providing the bins?
I'll take whatever you got.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
Because it keeps us up at night. As I mentioned, I don't want to steal anyone's time, but there's a lot of people's lives here that depend on these jobs, and they do a hell of a job. They do a great job on our streets, and they're out there right now in this. And I'm here to protect them. And if I can get those bins paid for, they'll go to work. And that's what matters most to me. And I know it matters to the council very much as well.
Yep,
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. And also, final question, I guess if you could just all briefly shoot out a ballpark of numbers, it'll be great. Approximately how much, based on all the research you've done, how much would it cost to fully comply with this rule? If you guys could just shoot out whatever numbers you've researched. If you have the numbers, if not, that's fine. I know we're all still researching and learning.
I believe for the meatpacking district, in pure capital costs for the acquisition of toters, containers, and the other kind of physical equipment, we are approximately $100,000 in a first instance. In addition to that, we have the need for perhaps additional staff to help manage this program, as well as the ongoing maintenance, and I haven't even really looked into the insurance costs associated.
Okay.
So, two-part answer. So we were quoted just for the bins themselves around $60,000, and that is just for the container one-time pay. We do, through our expansion, we did purchase a truck that is really there to help us with other projects throughout the day, but can help move bags around. So that costs us $90,000 a year. I would say that with bids, with a large district like ours, would probably need a truck. So if you combine those costs, it's close to $200,000.
For Fordham Road bid, I don't think we can give an exact number other than to say we're probably looking at six figures. And I'll just also echo the insurance piece of it and the liability. I think that's probably one of the biggest concerns around this, because insurance is going nowhere but up. And I can only imagine when we see that quote of what it's going to be to insure all of these bins, especially on Fordham Road, it is very cost prohibitive for something that is supplemental. I can't underscore that enough.
Speaking for Soho, we were one of the bids that did the Clean Curb pilot program, and we actually worked with a company that is separate from the two that are sort of playing in this space now. That bin as a prototype costs $30,000 and holds 10 bags. We manage 150 bags a day, so we would need 14 more of those bins at $30,000 each. So whatever that math is, $300 and something thousand. This is a bit separate, but I just feel like it's important to say, when we're talking about, the Empire bins or DSNY figuring out how to make this happen at a citywide level, it's interesting to me that they are looking to bids to be able to do this faster than they themselves can containerize the residential trash that they manage. And so they're expecting us to sort of navigate across city agencies to make this work, to navigate our districts, to navigate the vendors, to find all these solutions to a problem to meet their unfunded mandate while they themselves are not yet containerizing the trash that they manage. And so I think if it takes us longer to do this, meaning on the schedule of DSNY as they roll out Empire bins or whatever bin they select long-term citywide, that would probably be an appropriate timeline for most of the bids as well, rather than looking at that January 1st date. Thanks for letting me go a little tangential.
I think, thanks to DSNY's cooperation with us and working with us across the boroughs, Chair Felice, you had mentioned that $5 million number earlier in the hearing. We have come down from that number to somewhere around $1.5 million. That excludes, as I mentioned, the application process for clean curbs, immediate insurance and things like that. A lot of those things are unknown, but happy to say that we've come off that big number. And we're still at a big number, but, again, it's been DSNY's cooperation has made that number come down.
Sorry, I'll just jump in, Jim. Thank you for flagging that. When we originally looked at that $5 million for the Empire bin allocation from the council response budget, we estimated that that would be more than enough to purchase Empire bins to service all of the bids citywide. And then if we break that down further to bids who want to opt into Empire bins, we think that $5 million would be sufficient, likely to cover ACE's needs and the bids needs, but we would obviously need more information on that as procurement happened at the DSNY level.
Got it. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you again for all the work all of you do on the issue of cleaning our streets, keeping our streets clean and safe and vibrant. So thank you for all the information. I look forward to working together on this issue. Make sure we get it right. Thank you. So now we'll turn over to virtual panelists. For virtual panelists, once your name has been called, a member of our staff will unmute you, and the Sergeant at Arms will set the timer and give you the go-ahead to begin. Please wait for the Sergeant to announce that you may begin before delivering your testimony. I'll now call our first virtual panelist. We could start with Christopher Leon Johnson.
You may begin.
Hello. My name is Christopher Leon Johnson, and I'm calling on the City Council. I've been saying, I think, like years for now, I'm calling the City Council to find a way to make a bill to amend the law to where that BIDs are able, and even homes are able to use containers without the mandated container. I believe that the container that was set up by the City of New York, which was under the help of Mr. Eric Leroy Adams and Jessica Tisch, who is now the police commissioner, who was formerly the sanitation commissioner, and Sean Abreu, is nothing but a corruption, straight up corruption, pay-to-play scheme just to give one contractor the authorization to give out the bins. And I want to know why that the bins, you have to only use one bin. I believe that you can go to Home Depot or Lowe's or Harbor Freight and buy a better bin than the one that the city is putting out. I believe that it should be a law. I understand that the city loves working with big corporations to where that if you want to buy a bin, you could just buy it from Home Depot or Lowe's or Harbor Freight. I'm a big fan of small business too, but everybody know how the city is, especially with the mayor's office. They love working with big businesses. So you want to appease Big Bob Biggs because they donate to these campaigns and they sponsor all these events. People should be able to buy what they want to buy from a Home Depot or like a Home Depot or anything like that. Should be where, like, if you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, you should be able to buy a bin and put something like a BIC number and be able to use it. But I believe that this is not fair to a lot of BIDs because you have to buy these bins. Depends on the business. They have to be responsible to bins. And we think it's going to happen. They're going to pass on the cost to the businesses. And it's not good because when businesses don't have to pay money, they're going to pass the cost on to the customers. And that's not right. BIDs should be able to do what they should be able to comply with the law and be able to put the stuff in the garbage, but at the same time, that they should be able to use locks when it comes to using these bins, because it doesn't matter. You put these bins outside. You got homeless, you got people that search for bottles and all the type of stuff to go recycle. And I'm not here to stop anybody from recycling, because if you need money, you need money. But at the same time, that if you're not allowing these BIDs to put locks on those bins after they put the bins out at a certain, I think it's like after 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock. It does no justice at all to anybody, and it opened up these businesses to fines and fees and summonses, and you gotta go to oath and etc. So I think that this containerization law is not fair to any BID. I think that the BID should really file a lawsuit against the city of New York, against Sean Abreu, against Jessica Tisch, against Eric Leroy Adams, is saying that this containerization law is unconstitutional. This is a real unconstitutional law.
Thank you. Your time expired.
A few more seconds. this law is real unconstitutional, and it's not helping the business, hurting all the business, because we have to comply. I support small businesses, I support big businesses, and I support the BIDs, because there's certain BIDs that do the right thing. They do the right thing for the community, do the right thing to the district, and help people out. So like I said, I think that the city, I think you, Mr. Feliz, or someone like Julie Menon, should introduce a bill to repeal this law and make it to where if you want to use a bin, you can use any bin you want over a certain amount of feet, not just one bin. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you so much for your testimony. Next, we'll hear from Daniel Bernstein.
You may begin.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Chair Feliz. I appreciate the opportunity to testify. My name is Daniel Bernstein. I'm the Executive Director of the Columbus Amsterdam BID. I'd like to thank the Small Business Committee for allowing me to testify in regard to the oversight for DSNY containerization. New York City bids vary greatly in size and budget, as we've heard today. Our bid, a local community development nonprofit, has been in operation since 1987, and our boundaries cover both Columbus and Amsterdam Avenues, from West 96 to West 110th Street, the Bloomingdale neighborhood of Manhattan. We provide programs and services aimed at making our neighborhood cleaner, safer, and more prosperous. Our sanitation clean team is comprised of 6 part-time employees, 3 of which are deployed daily to sweep the streets and change trash liners in the bid from 7 a.m. to noon. I have worked in New York City bids for nearly 30 years, and bid sanitation services are essential to New York City neighborhoods because, as we all know, DSNY in the city cannot clean all of New York City on its own. Local community development organizations like BIDS throughout New York City pick up the major slack of New York City and its agencies to make the city a more attractive place for visitors and residents alike. These new rules regarding containerization will force many community groups like us to significantly alter and/or suspend their existing sanitation services due to the overwhelming financial constraints this rule is causing. This will result in overflowing trash receptacles, dirty sidewalks, and illegal dumping. Additionally, the city is planning to fine organizations like us for doing their job, bagging public trash, not bid or commercial trash, yes, public trash. This does not make any sense, as it is the work of groups like ours that make New York City look great. Our bid produces 40 to 50 trash bags daily and will need 6 locations for containers within our bid, which will cost roughly $35,000 to $40,000 for us to implement. This does not include staff time and maintenance, which will cost an additional $50,000 annually to comply with the new rules. We strongly urge DSNY and the City Council to revisit this and make funding available for community groups and bids to comply with these new regulations. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to testify.
Thank you so much for testifying. Next, we'll hear from Iman Rawai Doster.
You may begin.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Iman Ramawi Doster, and I'm a senior community organizer for the Disability Justice Program at New York Lawyers for the Public Interest. We present this testimony to ensure the placement of all waste containers and bags afford accessibility, clear paths of travel for people with disabilities, as well as those with strollers, suitcases, hand trucks, and the like on sidewalks and curbs. Too frequently, stacks of garbage create barriers in commercial districts, blocking curb access and obstructing access-road pickups and drop-offs, buses, emergency vehicles, and other pedestrian spaces critical to an accessible city. While New York City deserves clean streets, this can't be accomplished at the expense of people with disabilities who need access to clear sidewalks, curbs, and streets. As a double amputee myself who fluctuates between using a wheelchair and a walker, having space to use sidewalks, curbs, and streets is vital for my safety. We also strongly support the goal of reducing the time that commercial waste is spent on streets and curbs, and continue to call for the full citywide implementation of the commercial waste zones program as a way to simplifying waste collection, reducing the number of garbage trucks on local streets, and improving public and worker safety. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for testifying. We've now heard from, next we'll hear from Pedro Suarez.
You may begin.
Apologies, Fixing my camera. It should come on soon. So my name is Pedro Suarez. I'm the executive director of the Third Avenue Business Improvement District in the South Bronx neighborhoods of Mott Haven and Melrose, which is one of the oldest and most heavily trafficked commercial districts in the entire city, seeing 3.3 million people annually and over 50,000 people daily on the bus routes alone. I don't want to say anything that's already been said, other than to say our major two challenges with implementing containerization are cost and illegal dumping problems in the district that go beyond not just street vending, but just illegal dumping by the construction industry, by people traveling trucks, a variety of bad actors coming through the district and dumping significant materials overnight. I want to also share my deep appreciation for the Department of Sanitation on the ground. They're in constant communication with us. Frank Laterra and his team has met with us multiple times. They have definitely showed a good faith effort on this issue. I will say, however, that DSNY has never presented the option, at least to my bid, in terms of them purchasing the bins. I would gladly support such an initiative and would be fine with, navigating any citing issues related to that if it comes from the city budget. I just want to emphasize that any expenditures on this program automatically means cutting other programs. Spending on bins, adding staffing hours, there really is no solution that wouldn't come with a cost in my bid, particularly because of the challenges that we have with the opioid crisis, illegal dumping, as I mentioned, street vending, and other quality of life issues. It is not feasible for us to take the bags to a DSNY facility. Most small bids, and I would say most bids in the city, probably do not own a vehicle, and our bid definitely does not own a vehicle to transport that. And so the cost, as well as the illegal dumping issues, are of huge concern. We want to be compliant. We agree with the initiative in terms of getting rid of rats in the city. And I'm also happy to hear that the mayoral administration is focusing on dealing with the tree pits, because that's also a contributing factor to the rat infestations that we're seeing in our district. It really is going to take a multi-pronged approach. And so I really would appreciate the city considering a city-funded mandate around containerization, and we will do our best to comply. We currently do have some containers in the district, so we have implemented that for a few years now, but it's clearly not enough to meet the demands, the trash demands.
Thank you. Your time expired.
Which just one, as others have mentioned, is not our trash, but belongs to the general public coming through the district and the public transportation system. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. We have now heard from everyone who has signed up to testify. If we inadvertently missed anyone who would like to testify in person, please visit the sergeant's table and complete a witness slip now. If we inadvertently missed anyone who would like to testify virtually, please use the raised hand function in Zoom, and a member of our staff will call on you in the order of hands raised. I'll now read the names of those who registered to testify but have not yet filled out a witness slip or appeared. Sharon Brown. Sharon Brown via Zoom or in person? No. Seeing no one else, I would like to note again that written testimony, which will be reviewed in full by committee staff, may be submitted to the record up to 72 hours after the close of this hearing by emailing it to testimony@council.nyc.gov. Once again, testimony@council.nyc.gov. Seeing no one else, this hearing is hereby adjourned.